The Dharma, incomparably profound and exquisite, is rarely met with even in hundreds of thousands of millions of kalpas. We now can see it, hear it, accept and hold it. May we realize the true mind of the Tathagata. Today is the first day of November 2020, and this is towards the end of the zazenkai, the first zazenkai for November, the only zazenkai for November, because we've got a sesshin coming up, 7-day sesshin coming up, followed very quickly by Rohatsu sesshin. The scroll behind me, which is partly hidden by the figure of Kanon, the Bodhisattva of compassion, reads in Japanese translation, out of not one thing arise the 10,000 things. Out of not one thing arise the 10,000 things. We can call that not one thing all kinds of names, but that doesn't really get to it. Buddha nature, God, our true nature, eternal essence. There are probably about as many names as there are people in the universe. But what is it? Because when we are able to open even to a small part of it, just a taste of it, it is simply amazing. Not only amazing, but it's also incredibly freeing. Particularly right now, there are so many things going on in the world of great concern. And I won't go into it, but because I think we all know what they are, at least some of them, and they're impacting people in America like never before. So, as I said earlier today, this is an optimal time for practice, because when we're pushed against a wall, we're more likely to let go of our existing assumptions and search in a different way, or a different place, or somehow differently. And that's what's offered to us right now. Of course, it's always offered to us, but when we end up between a rock and a hard place, it's a little more imperative to open to something beyond the pain and suffering that is so rampant nowadays. There's so many people dying, so much rage, so much brutality, so much negativity, so little compassion. So I'd like to share again something, it's a little different, something from this book. It's a Tibetan practice book, Introduction to the Nature of Mind by Dzogchen Pema Kaisang Rinpoche. It's a Dzogchen text, which is one of the two Tibetan Buddhist practice emphases that is so similar to Zen. An introduction to the nature of mind. The nature of mind, that is our last refuge, really. Culture tells us we can take refuge in lots of things. Food, sex, friends, romance, parties, movies, drugs, alcohol. There's a whole long list. And many people get sucked into one or another of those items on the list. But for us here, it's not really an option, is it? At some level, we understand that it's not going to work. So what is left? What is left is to explore the nature of mind. So let me first give you a little bit from this book. All phenomena of samsara are apparent yet uniformly non-existent, like last night's dream, and are nothing other than part of the expression of, here it says Rigpa, but that really refers to true nature. Like the sun and sunlight, all phenomena of nirvana have the perfect, spontaneously present nature of enlightenment itself, wisdom that fully pervades all of samsara and nirvana. One more time, and it's basically what that scroll is saying. All phenomena of samsara are apparent, yet uniformly non-existent. They seem to exist, like last night's dream, and are nothing other than part of the expressivity of true nature. Like the sun and sunlight, all phenomena of nirvana have the perfect, spontaneously present nature of awakened mind itself, wisdom that fully pervades all of samsara and nirvana. It continues. As long as someone is a sentient being possessed of a mind stream, the unaltered and unadulterated essence of mind itself, the true nature of the true natural state is the threefold indivisible wisdom of empty essence, luminous nature, and all-pervading compassion. And I'll jump from there to the Prajnaparamita Sutra. Prajna, of course, is transcendent wisdom. Paramita is the perfection of, and this is the core teaching of the Buddha. His most advanced, deepest teaching is expressed in this chant. And it centers here on Kuan Yin, who sits up there on our altar, because compassion is innate in all of us and so important to manifest these days. In this sutra, it's talking about Kanon, Kuan Yin, the Bodhisattva of wisdom. So here's the Rochester Zen Center version, which is the Bodhisattva of compassion. Of course, that's Kuan Yin. From the depths of prajna wisdom, saw the emptiness of all five skandhas and sundered the bonds that create suffering. Saw the emptiness of all five skandhas. That means saw the emptiness of everything we hear, see, taste, smell, touch, or think. Know then, from here, form here is only emptiness, emptiness only form. Form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Feeling, thought, and choice, consciousness itself are the same as this. Dharmas here are empty. All are the primal void. In this case, Dharma refers to phenomena. None are born nor die, nor are they stained or pure, nor do they wax or wane. This was my koan. Although officially I was working on Mu, what I was really puzzled by is the words of this chant, the words of this sutra. Form is emptiness? Huh? I mean, if I poke myself, if I pinch myself, it hurts. What's empty about that? And yet, so this is a real door into awakening to the nature of mind. in experience, which is the only place it'll give us any freedom. We can talk about it, as the expression goes, till the cows come home, but it's only when we realize this truth at some level, and it's rare to realize it very deeply, but even to realize it relatively superficially brings about a measure of freedom. And more than that, enthusiasm for continuing practice, because we realize what practice has been able to open for us. Know then, form here is only emptiness, emptiness only form. Form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Feeling, thought, and choice, consciousness itself, are the same as this. And yet we attach so much to our feelings, our emotions, even our sensations. But what's real about them? It's worth really pondering, because Zen practice really is exploring the nature of our mind. And it's only through exploring the nature of our mind, becoming intimately familiar with all the nooks and crannies, with all the ideas and assumptions, and daring to move beyond anything concrete, anything fixed, anything seemingly safe. Shido Unan, who was Hakuin's grandfather in Zen, famously said, "If you die before you die, you won't die when you die. If you die before you die, you won't die when you die." There's plenty of death happening these days with the COVID pandemic. And for many people, a good deal of anxiety around it. Am I going to be next? Is someone I love and care about going to be next? And it sounds like a dreadful disease, despite what the president advertises. So if you die before you die, how do you die before you die? And how is it that even if you die of COVID, you don't die when you die? What is this pointing to? This is worth pondering deeply. We get up in the morning, we have a particular mind state, frame of mind. We're happy, we're sad, we're anticipating the day, or we're dreading it. How long does that last? When you were 2 years old, was it there then? Is it going to be there tomorrow? This mind, what is it? It seems so solid. And yet, here is the Buddha, who came to profound awakening to the true nature of reality, saying it's empty. None are born or die, nor are they stained or pure, nor do they wax or wane. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling. What? Again, if I pinch myself, it's going to hurt. How can that be said? Thought, no thought, or choice, nor is there consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, or what the mind takes hold of, nor even active sensing. Now, a prerequisite to coming to awakening is to enter a deep samadhi. And when we enter deep samadhi, all of this is absolutely obvious, except it's not obvious because there's nobody being there thinking about it. When we are in deep samadhi, we are so profoundly present that there really is no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No color, sound, smell, taste, touch, or what the mind takes hold of, nor even active sensing. We, who we think we are, disappears. And then, when we come to, it can be amazing. And then we understand that it is empty, but it's not something that can be explained. No ignorance or end of it, nor all that comes of ignorance, no withering, no death, no end of them. Nor is there pain or cause of pain, or cease in pain, or noble path to lead from pain. Huh? Not even wisdom to attain. Attainment too is emptiness. And in fact, we might even say attainment especially is emptiness, because we're all trying to get something. And what is it going to give us? So many, many, many years ago, as you have already heard, when I had a company, professional company doing commercial interior design, and a new catalog arrived in my office, and I was leafing through it and came upon these really wonderful looking chairs, very modern. They were side chairs. They would have fit perfectly with my Sarnan table, and we could have used them, and I could have bought them. I was making lots of money back then in that other life. But then immediately the next thought, okay, buy those chairs. And then how long will it be before there's another tug in your chest and you want something else, something more, something again? And I could see then that it was going to be an endless stream of wanting, briefly punctuated by a little bit of relief when whatever was wanted was gotten. But it was going to be endless unless I stopped then. And of course, I cannot say that immediately I was able to put down all desire, but I realized more deeply that nothing outside, nothing I desired, nothing I could want, no matter what it was, or how impressive it was, or how wonderful it was ever going to give me lasting peace and happiness. And this is kind of what the Buddha realized too. He was so shocked by seeing an old person bent over, having a difficult time just walking. And then somebody who was quite ill. And then a corpse. And finally, one of the early monks, someone who clearly radiated compassion, wisdom, joy, even though he was dressed in rags. And that gave the Buddha to be hope that there was some way where what appeared to be a dreadful aspect of human life, old age, sickness, and death, might offer something else. And of course, each one of you who's listening to this teisho understands that as well. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this teisho on a beautiful, at least it's sort of beautiful here, Sunday afternoon. But no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, or what the mind takes hold of, nor even active sensing? How are we supposed to comprehend awakening if there's nobody to comprehend it? Well, that's another thing to ponder. Except the more you can be curious beyond words, the more you can settle down and tune in to the sensations in your body with that openness to possibility that something might be revealed, the closer you'll get to it. To become utterly, totally present, we have to disappear. Who we think we are has to disappear. Otherwise, there's somebody standing out noting that something's present or somebody is present. And that's keeping a foot outside the door, and it doesn't work. We have to trust that in experiencing this self-disappearance, the disappearance of this self-image, that is going to be okay. But what comes up as part of the process of getting close to it is fear. Fear of disappearing. How are you going to know how to get back? I wouldn't worry about that. And if you disappear, are you just going to disappear? That's why they call it the Great Death, because it can feel like dying. And yet, as Shido Bunan said, if you die before you die, you won't die when you die. Not only that, but he also said, die while alive and be completely dead. Then do what you will, all is one. If we die while alive, in other words, we experience a deep enough level of awakening, then we don't turn into a zombie. More than that, we actually become more alive. And we're able to move freely in directions we couldn't before because we were so caught in our self-image, in our rigid ways of thinking and assuming and behaving. So we don't become a zombie. We become totally alive. And as part of that process of becoming totally alive, we also understand the nature of life and death, such that dying no longer frightens us. It's sort of like people who've had near-death experiences. They come back to life without any fear of dying in the future, because what they have experienced has taken away all the fear. All Buddhas of past and present, Buddhas of future time, through faith and prajna wisdom, come to full enlightenment. And as it says in the repentance ceremony, we too will become Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Have faith in that. As long as you keep working at it, keep daring to let go. And I wish I could just even tell you how to let go, other than to be as present and curious as possible. But present, but not intellectually curious, although it can start with intellectual curiosity. But ultimately, we have to move beyond words, because awakening isn't something that is left brain. It's not in the realm of cognition. It's not in the realm of concepts. And yet, it's intimately freeing. And not only freeing, but it allows us to make use of concepts if we need to, under appropriate circumstances. Each of us has this opportunity. Each of us can do it. There's no question in my mind that each one of you sitting here is able to come to profound awakening. Stubbornness makes a big difference. Keep sticking it out, keep questioning. And openness to possibility is essential. So, one more reading here. The Bodhisattva of compassion, from the depths of prajna wisdom, saw the emptiness of all five skandhas and sundered the bonds that create suffering. Know then, form here is only emptiness, emptiness only form. Form is no other than emptiness. How? Right there is a doorway into awakening. Form is no other than emptiness? How can form be empty? And yet, it is. And when you realize that, instead of thinking, you'll understand it, and it will free you. Feeling, thought, and choice, consciousness itself are the same as this. Dharmas here are empty, all are the primal void. None are born or die, nor are they stained or pure, nor do they wax or wane. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, thought, or choice, nor is there consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No color, sound, smell, taste, touch, or what the mind takes hold of, nor even active sensing. And again, to experience this state is a prerequisite, is a great big doorway to awakening. No ignorance or end of it, nor all that comes of ignorance, no withering, no death, no end of them, nor is there pain or cause of pain or cease in pain, or noble path to lead from pain. Not even wisdom to attain. Attainment too is emptiness. So know that the Bodhisattva, holding to nothing whatever, when we feel that tug in our chest, that means we're trying to grasp something, we're clinging, to tune in right there and experience it so completely that it simply melts. And suddenly you're in a different mind space, much closer to what you intend to realize. So know that the Bodhisattva, holding to nothing whatever but dwelling in prajna wisdom, is freed of delusive hindrance, rid of the fear bred by it, and reaches clearest nirvana. All Buddhas of past and present, Buddhas of future time, through faith in prajna wisdom, come to full awakening. Know then the great Dharani, the radiant, peerless mantra, the supreme unfailing mantra, the prajna paramita, whose words allay all pain. This is highest wisdom, true beyond all doubt. Know and proclaim its truth. Gatte, gatte, paragatte, parasamgatte, bodhisvaha. So here you have some hints. Some doorways to dare to walk through. And know also that continuing to do zazen, no matter what it seems like, you're on the path, you're walking the path, you're moving forward. Even though it may seem 2 steps forward, 1 step back, may even seem 1 step forward, 17 steps back. But remember when I read at the beginning, well, not exactly at the beginning, but midway through the morning, when practicing like this, sometimes there may be a dull, no thought state of unknowing. Sometimes there may be a no thought state of unobstructed transparency, where the clarity of Vipassana appears. Sometimes there may be an experience of bliss with attachment. Sometimes an experience of bliss without attachment. Sometimes there may be various experiences of luminosity with fixation, and sometimes unclouded luminous clarity without fixation. Sometimes there may be rough, unpleasant experiences, sometimes smooth, pleasant experiences. Sometimes you follow after strongly turbulent, intense thoughts that scatter meditation. And sometimes there's murkiness through dullness, being indistinguishable from clarity, and so on. These states that arise are various habituations, thoughts, and waves of karmic wind from beginningless time without certainty or measure, like seeing various pleasant or precipitous scenery on a long journey. So whatever arises, maintain your path without paying them particular attention. Of course, you're aware of them, but it's so easy to think when we are experiencing an unpleasant mind state, oh shit, I must be far from my practice. Well, actually, you might be quite close. In particular, while not familiar with the practice, when you feel agitated, the agitation of multitudinous thoughts blazing up like fire, do not be discouraged by this. With a balance of tight and looseness, practice without losing the continuity of that practice. Therefore, the latter meditational experiences of attainment and so on will gradually occur. In Zen, of course, we call that Makyo. No matter what we experience, it can be highly blissful. It can be frightening. It can be ho-hum. It can be dry and dead. It can be exciting. I do remember Mitra-roshi was really gifted with comprehending where people were at in the Zendo. And in my earliest years, during a sesshin, I found myself in this absolute utter bliss. I had struggled to get up to Doksan, as we call it there, many times. And finally, it was I just was always seated so far away in the Zendo. And back then, everybody in the whole Zendo, which meant close to 60 people, erupted at once and raced upstairs in an attempt to get one of the 9 mats in the Doksan waiting line. It was impossible for me. And then I decided, all right, I'm going to sit seiza without a cushion, and so I can just zoom off the tan. And at that point, I was seated next to the altar, which meant if I really whirled around and hit the ground running, I could race down the main aisle, out the doors and up the stairs, hopefully ahead of at least some people. And Mitra-roshi, who would do his rounds before he went up to do Doksan, saw me blissed out, sitting on my knees, and waited and waited and waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. And by this time, this bliss is starting to turn into exquisite pain. And finally, It was time to go to Doksan. But my legs were so cramped that all I could do was fall over sideways. I didn't even try to get off the ton because I knew they wouldn't hold me. But, we try all kinds of things to come to awakening. And we do get caught sometimes in marvelous mind states. This is why having a teacher is so important. That the main thing is to keep plugging away, because plug away, keep going, and eventually you will get there. There is no question about it if you persist. So the next time you chant the Prajnaparamita, consider it deeply. Feel it. Keep opening to possibility. Thank you for listening. We'll stop now and recite the 4 vows.